All right, so we are finally recording in not in the studio this time, but on the line. I've got Gary Hinkle from G-Force Racing and the 2020 Ultra 4 National Series champions, Jamie McCoy and Jon Arnold. How is everybody?
Great.
Good, man. I am so glad to have you guys in. This has been an interview that I meant to do after Moab, and it just kept getting kicked down the road. And finally, we got it all figured out. And I got you guys at a good time too, because obviously you're coming off a big win at Oklahoma, and it's going to be a great season next season, and I can't wait to hear about it. But before we jump into all that fun stuff, how is everybody? What's everybody up to? What are y'all doing? Gary, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Gary. I lost out on what he was saying. I heard something in the background.
Oh, yeah, somebody was using something. But, Gary, what are you up to tonight? What are you doing?
I'm actually building shocks still.
Yeah?
So, yeah, anytime we're in the house here at G-Force, we're always behind and trying to keep caught up. So, I figured this time here would be good to at least try to catch up a little bit and talk to you guys and talk about 2020, 2021.
Yeah, sounds good. John, Jamie, what are y'all doing tonight?
Well, I've had that I'm trying not to lose onto the card for some rights to this next Windrock night race.
So that's this weekend, and you guys are getting prepared for it. What all are you guys trying to get done before the race?
I think people want to maybe test some new tires this weekend.
Ooh.
And we've got Andy, one of my best friends from back in the day. He's a pretty good welder, so he's out here taking some brackets on for us tonight.
That's nice. I got a guy that does that for me too, and it's always nice to have one of those around.
He can weld anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to give everybody a little bit of context, it is election day. We're sitting here watching. I've got the election results pulled up, but we're here to talk about racing. Finally, get away from all this mess, and hopefully, after today, everything will smooth itself out, and it'll be a great 2021 season with no cancellations or craziness or anything like that. But before we go to 2021, I wanted to ask you guys, tell me about Oklahoma. Jamie, if you want to start, because you started, we were talking on the phone yesterday or the day before, and man, the story you told me was absolutely awesome, and I want to hear about it from you guys directly.
Well, I started out as we had several people that was in our corner. Anthony there from MRT come out, supported us, and they called him Mr. Poe. I called him William, and he actually brought my old black car, which is one of my favorite cars of all time. He actually brought it out there for me to pre-run so that I would actually have the exact same kind of car that I was going to race. He made the trip all the way out there for me for that, and I can't thank him enough for that. We had Eric from CA Technologies. He drove all the way out there, and not only did he come to support us, but he actually got in the car and he co-drove with Nathan. So,
wow.
We had a lot of support going into that. It's a pretty good clique out through there. I got to see my sister and my brother-in-law from Texas, so that was a great way to start things off. And went out there, got some really good pre-running in, and I felt very, very confident. And we went, come into Friday evening there and had my boys in the camper, and I said, I will qualify first. And, that means be prepared because I was liable to break it. So,
yeah.
But we did get those 7 points. We hit a pretty good lick there, I think, in qualifying. Maybe beat him by a couple seconds.
So for those who don't know, can you explain why it was so important that you qualified first?
We were tied. Cantrell and I were tied going in, and that 7 points for qualifying first. That may have been the determining factor. So I had a plan. The first thing was to pre-run, get it dialed in, and Gary made a couple settings there. I come back in. I said it's just not right, and he made a couple settings to. He kind of can look at me the way I'm shaking my head, and he knows what I want. So I didn't go 100 feet, man, on the track. And I told Jon, I said, this is it. We're ready. So,
Man.
We had a really good setup going in. But I got the 7 points that kind of gave us a little bit of a window, and then we're ready to go racing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys qualify first. One of the unique things about this race, and I didn't know about it until I watched on the live feed on Friday, I watched all you guys qualify, that you guys were going to start at 7 a.m. in the morning, which is absolutely bananas. How did you feel about taking off early when it was super cold and also when it was super dark?
I'm an early riser. I truck for a living. I got a store and I haul most of my own stuff, and I leave 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the morning a lot of morning, and so I feel that's to my advantage, to get an early race. So, but it was definitely cold, and my eyes got some age on them, so that was probably a disadvantage to me. And we put 2 little bitty pod lights. That's why we're putting more lights on the car right now. I figured by the time we come out of Loop A, it would be daylight. So we just put 2 pods, and probably made a mistake there because Loop A, I think we was in the plus 80 mile an hour on some of them straight stretches. You just outrun pod lights, so I needed a little better light than that.
Yeah,
but it was okay, man. It was all right. I set a really good lap. Just real, tried to not hurt the car, and this thing went out. But we come back through, and we have to go around the short course one time, and I'm like, Jon, we can't go into Loop B, man. We got a flat, and so I made it through the whole loop, 30 miles, no flat, and had a flat on the short course. So
yeah, it wasn't a flat. It was actually
it's actually a rock got in the rim there on the short course, and it cut the rim and gave it the flat. So we come in that, and we took a tire, and went back out, and so we took a splash of gas right there, so that put us on a little bit different gas time than most of the cars. So I don't know if that was to our advantage, but at least we took a splash of gas while we was there. So we went into Loop B, and just continued the race.
So Gary, when they're getting prepared for this race, and he comes out to you and he's like, it's just not right, and you're trying to decipher what exactly it is, the adjustments you're making, what are you looking at when you go look at a race course, or you're getting prepared, or you're looking at the qualifying track versus the actual race course? What's going through your head while you're doing all these things? And is there like a formula that you just plug numbers into in your head and things just pop out on the other end?
Not really. I mean, Jamie and I, we've raced together for so many years. I always go down the track and kind of watch the cars, watch other drivers that I build for. So we raced Oklahoma last year, so we kind of got a gist of what's there. So right now this year, we've implemented some brand new technology that's coming out, and with Pete's NOS pump valve. So we've been fine-tuning that a little bit. Won the last race in Renegade on the same system, same valving, same spring setup. Of course, Papa's car hadn't been ran yet, so
right.
His soy bar set up, his crossover set up, things like that hadn't even been adjusted. So when they got done pre-running, that's the first thing on my mind was, okay, we need a little more stiffness on the cross, the sway bar. We need to raise the crossovers this much and this much front and rear. And we never changed the adjustment, but we just changed the geometry of the car. So once the geometry got changed, Jamie went right back out there, and it was spot on. So basically what I did was I set the geometry on Papa's pre-run car that he was running to what he raced at Renegade.
Yeah.
And he had a really good race at Renegade. And just had some great lap times. Car felt great. I think we made 1/2 a turn different on a pump system on the rear shock between Renegade and going to Oklahoma. And I think it put Jamie right where he needs to be. So, but, you know, we're always watching, you know, all the drivers I build for, you know, there'll be a majority of them there on the race course. So,
Right.
Not only am I having to work with Jamie, but I'm making sure those guys are taken care of too, you know, because we might have, you know, I get the feedback from Jamie because Jamie and I have always worked together where he tells me we can read each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of setups I do in testing, the guys out there get to run the exact same thing Jamie might go win on. So we take that knowledge, and if you're there racing and I'm there, we're going to go, you know, change your crossovers too. We might change your ride height. You know, talk about a different tire pressure. Give everybody the same chance, you know, Jamie's got. So, you know, Jamie, you know, years ago we trained a lot of kids together. So, you know, we kind of have to leave it up to each individual, the drivers. So, you know, Jamie will give me that feedback, and then I can use it, you know, for business too, you know, to make sure everybody's taken care of. Whether it's Nathan, you know, or you know, Todd Beckett was there racing, you know, Levi Metzger, you know. A lot of these guys had this new technology, and this is the first time they got to race with it.
Yeah.
Just like Jamie had been.
So let me ask you this. John and Jamie, I want to let you guys know you dropped off on the video, but I'm pretty sure that we can still hear you. And I'm going to ask Gary another question, so y'all have a little bit of time to look into that if you want. Other than that, no big deal. Gary,
that phone that we're hooked to, he's leaving, he's done well, so I'll have to hook it back on the internet.
That's okay.
I'll figure this out.
That's fine. So Gary,
Probably got the phone off, Jay.
when you're talking about changing the geometry on the vehicle, do you mean like literally changing, you know, like a shock angle or something like that? Like actually where, you know, what do you mean when you say that? Because a lot of the mounting points, you know, on regular cars aren't adjustable or anything like that.
Correct. Well, really, the geometry is one of the most important things there for, let me fix this a little bit. A lot of guys out there, they don't consider sway bar angles. They don't consider, you know, don't have enough knowledge about what a dual rate crossover system is, things like that. So guys like me, you know, it's important to me to work with my customers to teach them, almost train them in a way to be able to adjust this stuff when they go to the racetrack, so they go trail riding or whatever they do, to, you know what each one of these systems and geometry does. So sway bar angle is so critical in UTVs. And I'm a believer that a front sway bar in 99% of situations on a UTV is not necessary, simply because it's almost a Band-Aid to fix the front end. If we valve and spring the front end right, you don't really need a front sway bar. But the rear sway bar is a different story. Without a rear sway bar in a UTV, you know, you're going to be wishy-washy, uncontrollable high speeds. But some of my trail mountain guys are great, you know, with no sway bar in the rear if I'm doing the shock ride from the rear, because they can articulate more, they can drop out more, you know, they can do things that we necessarily don't want to do in racing. But the whole key to a rear sway bar angle, if you're tilted upward, you know, you see a lot of that, you know, on a Can-Am, even factory, that a sway bar link, and a lot of lumps that are made in the, you know, here in the aftermarket world, they've copied that same link. So depending on your ride height, if your sway bar is tilted upward, you're already at a negative sway bar. So it's softer. So when you roll in, it's got a cut where it catches. Okay.
Wow.
So
yeah.
We want to shoot for a neutral, which is level. So whatever ride height you pick on the car, you can level the sway bar, you know, that you're looking at with, you know, your geometry in the ground. That's a neutral setting. So your sway bar is both positive and negative in the neutral. Now, if your sway bar is tilted downward, then you're going to actually be loaded on the sway bar. And most guys can tell this if they've had their shocks off, they're trying to put their shocks back on, but their sway bar is actually in a down position because they're struggling, lifting, they're trying to jack up the car, and they're doing everything they do to get that bolt back in the shock.
Yeah.
Because the sway bar is holding both sides of the car. But, you know, sway bar angle is very crucial. You know, that can, you know, and Jamie, when he tells me, hey, I'm getting a little body roll. So I know automatically I need a little more, pitch on the sway bar to put a little more leverage in there. So, we do small adjustments like that. And even like picking up small low-speed chatter and rock sections, or, if we've got our sway bar right, we don't have to worry about as much as we can use some plushes in those springs. When you're running a dual rate, and let's say you got a 300 spring, upper and lower. Well, effectively, mathematically, you're going to run a 150-pound rate with two springs moving together for the first inch. So as that runs, before it touches that crossover, then it becomes the main spring on the bottom.
Right.
So it'll go to 300. So, your main spring is kind of the workhorse. So once it transfers the main spring, that's where you're going to get a little harsh, stiffer, less body roll, less dive. There's all kinds of things to go into that situation at that point. So, 9 times out of 10, a customer's phone call we can fix just by listening to what they say. Just like with a racer. Say, hey, the car's kind of doing this. Well, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? So I always need that information. What's your current ride height? What tire size you got? What does your sway bar angle look like? Where's your clickers at? And 9 times out of 10, you can fix it like that, and they're back on point.
Wow.
So there's always an adjustment that usually fixes an issue that they're having.
Okay, I like that. Thank you for that in depth, because there's a lot of meat in what you just said. But Jamie, we'll get back to you. You go off the start line. You use your Infinite off-road light pods. You're outrunning those. I'm glad that he hooked you up, and he's gonna get you a little bit more light for this night race, because like last year at Adventure Off-Road Park, it is a dark race. It's not racing at sundown. It's racing at night, and they always seem to run just a little behind on schedule. So I know we were supposed to take off last year at 6 p.m. and I think we didn't come off the line until 6:40 or something like that. So it was a very long day, or long night rather. But you're getting ready. You do Loop A, and then you go out for Loop B, which is the more rock heavy, more trail rather than kind of open, flat terrain. Tell me about Loop B, and then tell me about the race and what happened and all the fun stuff in between.
I have a really nice light bar that he sent me, and he sent 4 pods. So I just chose to put 2 of the pods on there because I thought we would be in for probably 30 minutes or something like that. We would probably be in, dusk dark. And so that's why I chose to do that. Of course, outrun the, small ones. But the bar I've got on the top of the car here now it's really, really nice. And I doubt I could outrun it. So I probably should have put it on. So that was kind of our mistake there. But it worked out pretty good. But we went into the V loop, and that is it has a few speed sections in it, but it is mainly rocks and climbing and a little bit of mud and water, and so that's if I thought I was going to lose the race, it would be in the B side. So I come through with a pretty good lap, I thought. Didn't really have many issues. Got by maybe a couple cars that got by me in the while I was in the pits. So it was pretty good. So we come out, and so I didn't come in for fuel. And we was trying to have communication with Gary, and I guess every time out I've tore my antenna off. I guess I just like to go under a tree or something. I really don't know, but I tore my antenna off, so we had no communication until we was within sight of Gary every lap. So that was kind of frustrating, but so we was able to go through and right back into to the A side again. And the car was feeling really good. There was no issues. I knew if I busted the water holes early, I thought the pictures of some guys busting the water early, the first lap or so, I knew it was going to be a cold day. So I just tried to not get wet the first lap, and may have lost a little bit of time there, but I just didn't want to drive that car, for another 2 hours, hour and a half with being wet. So we just played that smart, went back into Loop A, and started catching them guys back. I think I lost maybe 6 minutes in the pits or something, and I caught back up to Zollinger, got by him, and then got back up to Cole and got by him, right? And so we come back around, and instead of taking fuel that time, we was gonna take fuel on the next time through. So we went right back into the B loop again, and we come back into the B loop, and things were going pretty good again, man. We get to talk to Gary when we come in, and it was I just really thought, when I blowed that tire down, I talked to Nathan earlier that day, and he said, that night before, and he said, "What are you going to do?" He wants to race, and I want to race too. But he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, if I'm a third baseman on the World Series, it's the last out, and I get a grounder, real hard grounder hit to me. You can't lob at the first base. You gotta rear back and throw it. That's what you do." So I told him I was going to race, man. But I was probably not really thinking it all the way through, because it kind of did a reality check there when I busted that wheel. So me and John started talking amongst ourselves, and wanted to know. I think that put me back to 11th place, which that let Cantrell to move up through the field, and I just kept digging at it, and worked my way back up to physically second on time. So Nathan had a pretty substantial lead on us, but I come in and took a splash of gas. We had the B section left to go, and Gary said, "Bring it home, man. Don't do nothing stupid." And I said, "Okay." So we let up a little bit the last B lap, and probably let up just a little bit too much. I think Cole climbed that hill climb again. He run in on me on time and got me. He didn't pass me, but he got me on time. So I finished third for the championship. So I'll take it.
Yeah, it's not a bad way to end the day, that's for sure. So I want to ask you a couple more questions, Jamie. Jamie, what were your thoughts on, I think it's called Hell's Gate, which is what Cole Clark, who his interview went up we're recording a little early, but his interview will have gone up last week. And, he said he hit it a couple of different times during the race. What were your thoughts on it? Was it just too risky, or was there not enough reward towards it? I know that you guys went around it, and that was the option I think that everybody but Cole chose. So what were your thoughts on that optional line?
We went out there. Actually, Pete was with us for non-suspension. We went there, and I studied that hill for a long, long time, and it was a very, very doable. But it's just according to how much water got drug up on it. And, I made up my mind I was going to do it, because I thought Cantrell would do it. He's a big climber. I thought Cole would do it, and I thought Nathan would do it. But we were standing there in the pits, and Nathan said absolutely not, and it's not worth the risk, and so did Cantrell. And I just looked at John, and I said, "Man, that's great for me, because they're probably better climbers than I am."
Well, so, I mean,
I passed Cole. It was definitely faster.
Yeah.
Because I tagged him, and then he took it, And I'm like, oh man, we just passed him, and here he is again. I caught him again.
Yeah, you're talking about Cole Clark, where you passed him in the race, and he mentioned that actually in my interview with him last week. He mentioned that he watched you pass him, and he was just like, "Dang it, I have to take this line," and this is either going to be it or this isn't going to be it, because he was talking to me and he was like, this is where I'm going to make up my ground here, and it was a pretty big joy for him to be able to make that line. But yeah, when you pass him again, I'm sure he had some choice thoughts.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it when I come back around and he was in front of me again. We was in the fast section, and I think they actually had that little GoPro thing up, that helicopter thing up following us there, And,
yeah.
And I followed him a pretty good ways, and we was at the end of the race, and probably should have gave him a little love tap, but I did, and I just wanted to protect my car. I had a championship to win, so but he finally figured out we was back there, and he got out and we got gone. But I thought I was sitting a real good lick, and sure enough, he made up a bunch of time again on the last lap doing the same thing. So I guess he did that hill climb maybe twice.
Yeah,
is what it looked like on lap times, but. That's a we've been there. That's our second time,
mm-hmm.
And we actually went down that last year, and the rocks out there are they're very climbable, but they don't have the traction like it does in Moab or
mm-hmm.
Like you'd say Hammers. The rocks are a little bit slicker, a little closer to what it is on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you end up, being able to pull it off, a great placing, a podium finish for that race. And that ultimately, let me ask you this. At what point did you know that you had passed Cantrell?
When I come in, John, on that, we was in 11th place on that one lap. So I knew that he was ahead of us. And then when we come back through, Gary said Cantrell 8th, and we was 2nd.
Wow.
So I guess we made up. I think he had an issue maybe on the second lap or something. Something started happening to the car.
Yeah, he was having a fuse issue, an ignition fuse. So
I think maybe he may have worked his way up to 6th or something, or 5th or something. I don't know how far he got, but I knew I had to be on my game and, not make no mistakes, not get stuck nowhere, not have no more flats or anything like that, the last couple laps. So
yeah.
Well, getting down, but it was really frustrating. It was, you go from, just really pushing every last 5 feet, making sure you hit every hill just perfect. And then you go to that, checkup mood, and I swear sometimes I think about it, and it's almost better to just go ahead and race it, man. You make more mistakes when you try to go slow. So,
yeah,
you're used to, when you get in race mode, you see stuff differently, and, it's hard to simulate racing. You go out and practice and you test, and you could test one section, but, to go out and do a test section and make sure you're, 110% in every braking, every acceleration, every downhill, uphill, turn, rock, make sure you hit it. It's really hard to simulate that, this year I didn't get to do as much testing as I would like. So, but I think we come up with a really good setup. We've been working with this platform for several years now, and man, I got a really fun Can-Am to drive. I just I say that over and over again. It's a better car than I am driver. I'll tell you that much. It's a really nice car.
Yeah, you told me that on the phone when we talked earlier, and I think you're being a little humble. But let me ask you this, John, if you're still there, when you're going through that Oklahoma race, being co-driver, you guys, y'all know each other. Y'all are business partners, right? So you're going through this race. Did you have any moments or any thoughts that are worth telling us about?
he was back there looking at something on the back of the car there.
That's fine.
You got him now?
Hang
on.
No, that's all right. So here's my thoughts. Is there was quite a few water crossings that especially got highlighted in that Ultra 4, like the highlight reels for all the classes. And it looks like y'all were moving through the water pretty good in one of those highlights, if I remember correctly. I think I would be, probably just floating along, or if I can't remember, if it was, maybe just coasting along or running through there. But if I was co-driving, man, the one thing I would say is, man, just please don't let me be cold for 2 hours. And I know you mentioned that earlier, but one of the hard learned lessons for me is gloves. So when you race at night and it's cold and it's muddy, you probably should have some really nice gloves with some nice grip on them. I made the mistake at the last race we were at where I wore gloves and then they got muddy and they weren't good. Like, I think they were like utility gloves or something. I lost my grip on the steering wheel because it was so muddy. So middle of the race, just the gloves off. I don't know where they went. I don't know if they're in the car, out of the car, but I just was driving barehanded. And then the next thing I know is like my knuckles are starting to crack from all the wind. And it was something I hadn't prepared for, but I can only imagine, Oklahoma in the middle of like an ice storm, 30 degrees, and you're running through a creek as fast as you guys are. So I would only imagine that Jon might have some feelings.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to answer some of that because he's having some phone issue. What'd you do with my phone, Jon?
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay, he might have put it on there where they can see us, just like we did in okay. Just on my phone.
I tell you what.
Yeah, just set the phone like that. But I tell you what I did, man, and I practiced that just a little bit. Racing in the water, there's a lot of guys that got, there's times when you're racing and it's just one water hole right after another.
Yeah.
And you just got to hit them. You got to try to get up on top of which ones you can, and brake early and get your front end light on some of them if you got a real deep one, or try to come in and slide into it. But and if you brake real late and you slide into it, well, you can kind of push that wave ahead of you, and as soon as it starts to drop, then you can get back on the gas, to try to keep from doing that in a lot of your bigger holes. But those creeks like that we were going through like that, that's kind of what I would do. I'll try to go. I try to come into them and start picking my speed up, and right before it starts to crest over or something, I'd break it down as soon as it left, then you could get back on the gas, kind of like full throttle. So
yeah, that's cool.
That was kind of my, if you just come through and hammered that on the first lap, he was going to be miserable. And,
yeah,
I knew I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. All right. So you guys finish out the season. Gary, before I go back to you in your season thoughts, Jamie, what do you think, after the season's over, you guys have had, a couple of days at best. What do you think about the season? What are your takeaways?
Well, we raced 34 races last year. We raced 11 this year. So it was definitely a different season for us. And I don't know that we worked any less or any harder. I think we did make some leaps and bounds on Gary's new suspension. We've had some ups and downs, and we had a lot more ups than we did downs this year. I'll just put it to you that way. We had one little failure there in West Virginia. Had a little ball joint bolt broke on us and caused us the issue. And I guess that was the only down race that we had. I think we was in the hunt on every other race. I kind of hurt the car one time in qualifying, and we had to go back and work on it just a little bit. Had to start in the back of the pack at one of them races, and Jon, I told him, I said, you might want to opt out on this one because I'm going to go to the front. So he said that would be good. I said it was a mud race. It was really slick, and I said I was a little bit frustrated with myself, and I said I'm going to go to the front. And he said I'd be glad to opt out on that one. So,
That's
but
awesome.
other than that, man, we got to see some really cool stuff. had a real good friend of mine that took the race rig to Moab there for us, and you know, we got to fly in, and it was you know, that was some very, very nice scenery, just unbelievable. When I rolled over the hill there, I looked at them rocks. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, man. This was really, really different. But you know, I thought we'd run a good race there too. We was you know, we had a really good line, had a little GNCC line there, and they didn't want me to use it, and they kind of blocked the track. But you know, in pre-running, it was definitely inside the tape. But they wanted me down in the gorge, and I was running a 64-inch car. Most of them was running the wider cars, and they couldn't get up on the ledge. Mm-hmm. And I was able to stay up on this ledge, and but they wanted me down in, so I lost a lot of time on my first lap, and maybe about 3 minutes or something, trying to get the car turned around without rolling it back off that ledge. And then once we got rolling again, I felt we put on a really good charge, and then come to the last quarter lap, and there was a bottleneck, and I had to hit the joker line twice, and we broke an axle, and so we was in 3-wheel drive, and we finished it on out, and but we ended up with third that day, and first time going to Moab, I'll take that also. But you know, we had a lot of good times to win a national championship. You know, it's just I can't be more prouder of Jon and Gary, that just, you know, the G-Force team, Can-Am, you know, all these sponsors here behind us. I just can't be more proud to be part of this team.
Perfect. Jon, what are your thoughts for the end of the season? What do you think? Jon, I can't hear you very well. That's a little better. I tell you,
see real good.
Yeah, your video is absolutely wonderful.
Smile real big.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Jon. While we're figuring that out, you can feel free to try. There you go.
I'll just put Jakey's in there.
That's all right.
Am I ready for the season to be over, or?
Well, what are your thoughts on the season? You know, you had 2021 or 2020 was a real strange one. What do you think about after it's all said and done?
It really felt like we raced almost the same amount as we raced last year. Last year was like a lot of racing, a lot of work on the cars. I guess it was building this new car kept us really busy. So Jamie did excellent. Pete coming in from California, helping Gary get caught up and making some changes. They work really good together. When those two minds are together, it's just a pretty crazy thing to watch how they can communicate with each other and changing things and bouncing ideas off of each other. It's kind of just like me and Jamie in the car. You know, we work real good together.
Yeah. It's so you guys are one of my favorite interviews because I don't very often get to interview driver and co-driver together. And the first time we had you on, you kind of got to explain the chemistry between driver and co-driver, about how it's this balance. And I know that's kind of a weird word to describe it, but I couldn't think of anything else to call it. What would you guys call it? Friendship? Partnership?
Controlled chaos.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But what I mean is not a lot of times do the co-drivers, kind of get the spotlight with the driver. And one thing that I love about the organization that you guys have, dude, you guys are like the tightest team, because when I reach out, I'm reaching out to Jon, and the first thing he says is, all right, I'll get it to Jamie, I'll get it to Gary, and we're all going to be there. We're all going to block it out of our schedule. And that's really, really cool. So I appreciate that. And also I appreciate the different perspectives, because it's pretty rare that I get to get everyone in house and everyone's so intertwined together. So I like it, and I appreciate it, guys. But
maybe the next race that you come to, I'll put you in the passenger seat.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
The one thing that makes us unique is, we're family.
Yeah.
Jon and Jamie, Jamie's been like a brother to me since, we've raced in 30 years. Against each other at one time, and now we're, more of a team, but I mean, we're like a family, and that's how we've always been. And, we talk about things, we argue about things, we disagree on things. But in the end, we all have a positive, outlook to say, okay, this is exactly, where we're trying to be. And we all do it together, So,
Yeah.
They're my brothers, So,
yeah. Well, before I jump to Gary about his season thoughts, John, did you have anything else?
Jamie said that he can be mean to Gary, but Jesse can't.
That's right. John, do you have any other thoughts for the end of the season?
I think it was if you would have told me last year after he won with Rookie of the Year and the East Coast champion that he was going to win, that we would be a national recognized Ultra 4 team, and I would have said you're crazy. But and every time that he goes up to qualify, he's usually first. He's either on his lid or he's first. So
Sure.
He's a heck of a driver. If it wasn't for him, me and Gary wouldn't be where we were at right now. So he doesn't take as much. He doesn't give himself as much credit as he should.
Sure. I can attest to that. Just to the conversation we had yesterday, he kept giving all his credit to his car and just guessing that it's going to drive itself. All right, Gary.
Autopilot.
Yeah, right. That's the new technology coming for 2021. But Gary, season thoughts. What'd you think when it started? Did you learn anything really valuable this season?
Yeah. Well, when this year started, our first race was Pro Rock, and I was still here in the shop trying to get caught up a little bit and do some things back earlier this year. And John and Jamie called me, and they're like, "Hey, we broke front drive shaft in qualifying, and I can't find one in the trailer." So I was like, "Well, I was fixing to drive up to Kentucky. We raced at 30 Turtle at the time."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Just let me know, and I'll go by. I'll bring one. We'll get it in the car." So I left late that afternoon, and I think that race they took a drive shaft out of Nathan's pre-run car.
Mm-hmm.
So they had everything on point. But, that first race of the season, I think we've had this happen to us for 2 years at Dirty Turtle that, it was snowing, it was cold.
Yep.
Something went wrong. And, Jamie started in the back, and, he battled his way to the front and ended up coming out, I think the third overall the first race, salvaged that part. Hello, Mac.
Hey, the superstar of the team right there.
We, anytime you start the season off like that, you're like, things just didn't go our way. Elements were against us. We broke a drive shaft, and it was actually a U-joint, a drive shaft that we had just custom built and even made stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, then we have to step back and say, okay, maybe this is too strong. Now we got another weak link, so then we have to, take a look at how the rest of the season will go. Pro Rock didn't race anymore till this coming up weekend. We had Renegade, which is kind of a new East Coast series. We stepped in there, got some seat time. Jamie won the Southern Renegade, championship. We weren't able to go to all their races to be the national champion, so we won the Southern, didn't get the Northern, but we were focused on Ultra 4, and to us, doing the things that Can-Am is actually sponsoring, putting effort, time, their money into with their cars, and Ultra 4 racing is a big national event. So, we want to focus on things like that. So, we went to AOP in Tennessee, and we ran that a couple times with Pro Rock and Renegade, things like that. They changed the course up a little bit. About the 100th time, I stuck Jamie and Jon out there in a brand new suspension setup. They'd never driven yet. They had a 17-minute win that race.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we were we were 80% on that setup. we had some homework to do. We came back, did some homework, and started fine-tuning, different things. Time we get to the end of the season, going into the last Renegade and going into, Moab, Oklahoma, Ultra 4, things like that, we finally get our setup to where, Jamie's comfortable. He's 100% with it. We've worked any bugs out. But I think right now, Jamie and I had a conversation, and there's 1% we still want to find, but when we're that close on a setup, we know that we're leaps and bounds above where a majority of the market would ever be, and, this type of technology that we're able to put out to other, and just the builds, or regular things we always did, I always put that effort in, and a lot of it comes back from Jamie on these mounting setups and builds and things that I can put out to other racers, and it's still at times, leaps and bounds better than they ever had.
Yeah.
So that's what we look at. But, it's coming out this season with only, racing what we were able to race and still winning, a championship in the Southern Series and Renegade, then winning the Ultra 4 National Championship, Those are big feats, and now, we got our sights set, this year to, compete at, King Hammers for KOH, and, I've got 100%, thought and all the, the racing we've done in Ultra 4 and the Renegade and the Rock and things we've learned, that, Jamie will be a fighting force and we'll have a good car going to KOH.
I can't agree with you more that you guys are definitely going to be in an excellent position. So I have to ask possibly the most important member of the team. It's Mackenzie, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about your dad racing and being the champion of the best racing league in the entire United States? I think that's awesome. You should be very proud of him. But that's great. That's really, really great. What do you think he's gonna? Do you think he's gonna do well next year?
She's a good helper, Jesse.
Is she?
Yeah, she helps John and him. She helps. She knows how to do some tire balls, and
Hey,
she can do everything. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Tires, mount some rims.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
she does really good.
Mackenzie, do you think he's gonna do well next year? I think so too. I think he doesn't give himself enough credit. I think he's gonna be on a roll for a while. But thank you, Mackenzie, for making an appearance. I appreciate it. It's always good to have the next generation on the show. I appreciate that.
Now Max got her own little buggy too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Max got a little 170.
Wow. I haven't ever personally been in a 170, but I've been in a 570, and those are a lot of fun.
she might be our next champion.
That's it. I'm counting on it. It's got to be in the blood. But I appreciate you guys. So let me ask you this. So for 2021, you just mentioned that we're going King of the Hammers, right? So with going to the King of the Hammers, it kind of opens a new can of worms because when was the last time that you guys raced there? If you remind me.
Never.
That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure before I made my assumption there.
Yeah.
King of the Hammers it's the Ultra 4 beast. It's the icon of the race league. It's where Can-Am has dumped a lot of money into. It's where Ford has dumped a lot of money into. Everyone hyper focuses on King of the Hammers. I had somebody explain it to me like this one time. You sometimes may not know who won the national series for Ultra 4, but I guarantee that you can tell them who won King of Hammers that year. So there's a lot of weight that comes with that win. And I think that with the momentum you guys have right now, I think that you guys are in a very good spot. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have in mind. So Gary, if you want to start, or Jamie, you guys can fight amongst yourselves. Getting ready for King of Hammers, what is the mindset? What are you guys doing to get prepared?
Well, of course, we've got a new car build we're working on. So we finally figured out 100% if we're going to go to a 64-inch car, 72-inch car. I think that's kind of to be determined. Probably on the lake bed.
Yeah.
Figuring out, wherever Jamie feels most comfortable. But we'll have two car, a new car, Can MX-3 that'll be ready for race day. But, we get to listen to a lot of people. And I've built a lot of guys' cars, that went to Hammers suspension-wise. So, we take their feedback, their knowledge, and, put all that down and say, hey, this is what we need. We need to, make sure we got this covered, that covered. I think as a team, we're stronger now than we've ever been. And we keep growing. And like Jamie said, I pulled Pete in here from Miles from California. And, he's moving his family here to Tennessee with me.
Wow.
And he'll be actually in here in the shop with us full time coming about the first year after Hammers.
Wow.
So, the shop world to me in that scenario, is getting a big hit because, like John said, and I appreciate Pete's mind and his technology and what he does and some of the stuff he's developed. But at the same time, Pete and I can run things, across each other and come with the best outcome for our customer or our racer or whomever, because, you've got, two guys that do the same thing that are working together for one outcome, and that goal is, the one to win races and have the best race suspension, but then also at the same time for your trail guy to have the best, weekend he's ever had.
Yeah.
To, and we're always learning. So, and with having Pete on board with us, he was actually able back the race before Oklahoma at Renegade at that event Jamie won. He got in the car with Jamie as a co-pilot, and that's one thing John says. John says, I don't like being out here with you. I'd rather be in the car because it's more nervous out here with you than it is in the car,
Yeah.
But, we've all grown together. Like I say, we're family. Jamie always says this on the podium a lot of times. Every night, him and John live about 45 minutes from me at the shop. So a lot of times they're working there without me, or we'll all get together and work here. We're running back and forth. But, most every night we're prepping. And Jamie likes to prep early to be ready for a race. So we're always doing our best to be there, early. So try to get things on point, It does take a lot away from our family. So we can't, I have to thank my wife. She has to deal with a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'm doing this all day, then we're doing racing, and we're doing other stuff. Same thing with Jamie's family and John, too. The nighttime effect, takes a lot out of everybody.
Yeah.
And we don't get to spend as much time. And, all we can do is say, hey, I love you and thank you. And we appreciate you, And, but, we're brothers, it's family when we're together, too. So,
yeah.
But if we're not racing, a lot of times we're at the lake together. We're doing something together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I think it's always better when the girls get to be more involved.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jamie and John together, y'all can answer this. As you're getting ready for King of Hammers, what's going through your mind?
I sit and listen to Gary talk there about we start preparing for these events, and there's people that's been to them. There's people that's been to Moab. And you're like, oh, you're not going to like those rocks. They're going to be really big, and then they put in a joker line, and everybody's like, oh, this is a really, really tough section. It's going to be really tough, and I worry a lot, and I go over every inch of that track, the night before, and I can't sleep, and I visualize the race. I've done that since racing motorcycles. I visualize the start. I visualize the climbs, the downhills, the water, the rocks, whatever it is, and every time we go to one of these places, me and John, after doing one of these really tough sections, we look at each other and say, man, that wasn't nothing. We we prepare, and we may psych ourselves out just a little bit, but as you say, the King of Hammer is the beast, and I'll be prepared. I promise you.
Man, that's exciting as a fan. That's exciting, and it's one thing for a lot of people will say like we're going to be ready for the Hammers, or we're gonna show up on the lake bed, and there's not a lot of credit to it, and there's guys that really only run King of the Hammers, and they're like, that's my race I'm going to run. That's the only thing I'm going to do. And, they have these fluke things. Either they build new cars and the bugs aren't worked out, or, chance happens. And I really think because you guys race so often, that's got to put more credibility and it got to validate when you say you're going to be ready for King of the Hammers. It's got to validate that a little bit more because you guys are working through those details. You guys are out, testing the car that'll be, all of the fundamental parts of the car that'll be there are getting tested this weekend, just like they have for this year. So I think that it's pretty exciting when someone like you says they'll be ready for that race. So as a fan, I'm very excited.
And I think Jamie has to say, Jesse, it's one thing we've learned over time is, we feel like our sponsors and the products we use aren't the best.
Mm-hmm.
So we're testing and the things we've learned, whether we're running an OEM part or we're running, Keller ball joints or, CA arms or HCR suspension, components, MRT tires. All these companies that help us in the products we run, we're 100% confident just because of not having failures in winning races that, we're able to go compete and have the same quality, product the next race as we had the race before. So, I think that gives us an advantage too, is the guys to help us.
Yeah, certainly so. But again, you have to credit your team. I mean, there's so much reward to the work that you guys put in because, it's so funny. I called Jamie yesterday, we talked on the phone yesterday, and what's he doing? He's working on the car. And the next thing I know is, we're doing the podcast, and as we were getting the technical issues sorted out, you guys are working on the car. You've got somebody there working on the car with you. And, Gary, for the first, 25 minutes of the podcast, you're working on shocks. It's one of those things where, when you're a workhorse and you put you front load all this work, good comes out the other end. And I'm a believer that the Lord will take care of you. You put your work in, the Lord will make sure that you have, you reap what you sow. That whole mentality that the Lord is faithful to those who, put in the work there. And I think that you guys are a prime example. There's a lot of guys out there that work hard, but it's hard to say that, you guys are not some of the hardest working people in the sport right now, for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys were well deserved. So, John, let me ask you, as you're getting ready for King of the Hammers, you're getting yourself prepped mentally, physically, all those things. What's going through your mind to King of Hammers? You're a little more quiet on me. I can't hear you the same way I did earlier.
Get Jamie's headphone.
Yeah, grab Jamie's headset again. That worked out. It's like we got the video figured out. Now we're just waiting to get all the pieces in place here.
I got you now.
There we go.
I was there last year, and it's a pretty gnarly place.
Yeah.
I think the weather was really good, so hopefully we have good weather. I've seen it be snowy there. I've seen it freezing. So hope the weather's nice. I don't know. I've never been around that track either, so I've just seen bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. But we may have someone riding in the car other than me that race. So it's to be announced, maybe.
Sure, so. Absolutely. Well, I hope it's you. I'll say that. If my hopes are anything, I hope it's you there. You're well deserved to be there for sure. But just as we move on, 2021 King of Hammers, obviously, you start the beginning of the year, the beginning of the season with the big beast, and then you have the remainder of the season. They release their schedule. It looks like they're going to be all over again. Are you guys going to try to make every single Ultra 4 race?
I guess we'll just do the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I think the farthest one out would be Crandon.
Yep. Now, okay, so you guys are going to do Crandon.
I think we have to. I think we have to.
Okay.
I think it's part of the East Coast schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually pull it up here. It's the Ultra 4 2021.
I think we've got AOP.
Yep. And Rush Off Road. Oh, yeah, it is. It is the East Coast. Wow.
Yep.
Let me pull it up here for everybody watching the live stream, and everybody should be able to see it as well if I can get it here.
Sorry about that background noise.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're powering through it. It's all good. Yeah. So it looks like for the East Coast Series, you got Rush, Kentucky in April, AOP in June 25th, and then Crandon.
Then we got the Nationals in Reno again.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this, because I saw a couple people. Everybody loves a good Facebook warrior, keyboard warrior. A couple people were complaining about going back to Reno for nationals. What do you guys think about having nationals there?
I think we had a blast. Jamie, we ran Pete's X3 that he brought from California, and Jamie broke it in half. So, but I think he had a good time. We finished second, came close to winning it. First time out there, and definitely, he finished that race on a. If I could show you guys a video, the frame was broken 6 places. He was going to the starting line for the main event, and I'm holding the light. Pete's laying under it, welding the frame back together.
Oh my God!
When Jamie finished, that part of the frame and 4 or 5 other places on the front bulkhead were broke off. So he said I had no brakes. I think the shocks and the shock tower is the only thing holding the car together.
Yeah,
But he had a good time. We enjoyed it. It was, again, that was probably our first race that we went that far west. And it was different. The rocks were big. Had a couple of fast sections. He was in a car that wasn't ours. We didn't prep till we actually got there. At the time, we called Scott at Method. He sent I think 6 rims out to us. MRT sent tires to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we mounted tires the day we got there.
Nice.
And put things together. And one of the fab shops local in Reno, we went there that night, and they cut us some pieces of 1/4-inch steel, and we actually welded just flat bar and square bar onto the A-arms and the trailer arms, because Pete's car was basically stopped, and we'd already figured out that, hey, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Unless we had metal this thing. So
yeah. And for those who don't know off the top of their head, that Reno course is basically a short course, but has 100 yards of boulders, just giant rocks that you have to just
3 different sections. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. It is, I said this on the Cole Clark podcast recently, but there's a picture that someone's floating around Facebook, and it's someone standing in the middle of the boulder field. And there's gaps from top of rock to another top of rock that are up to, a grown man's knee. And it's you get people just hitting this wide open. No wonder your car broke in half. I mean, it's wild. So,
well, I think Jamie and I keep laughing at Pete. Pete kept saying, that's when we were actually testing the initial prototype stuff that were, kind of, some of the stuff that Kyle and Nathan ran at KOH, but Jamie was the first to run it. So Pete kept saying, "Hey, hit that wide open. Just jump way out in there as hard as you can go." And Jamie's like, "I'm going to break the car."
Yeah.
He goes, "I've already broke the car." So,
yeah.
Those rocks are not forgiving at all.
So let me ask you this, because Crandon is on the North Series. It's on the north side of the Ultra 4 Series, and it's on the East Coast. East Coast. setting the car up for Crandon is way different than anything else that you guys have going on, because the whole point of a short course car is weight reduction, smaller gas tanks, aluminum versus steel, things like that. Like, it's really pulling all this stuff off the car, and it's a different setup. I know that, Gary, you had some guys race Crandon this year. Did they make those weight adjustments to be successful? Or, are we just going to take the car we've got and, do what we can and then go from there?
Well, unfortunately, we were racing Ultra 4 at Crandon, outside of the normal, say, champ or, the past short course series.
Mm-hmm.
I built a lot of short course suspension for probably, 5 or 6 of the top, guys running champ series.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kyle Chaney, Scotty Lawrence, and there's a bunch of them. So, our suspension setup and the Ultra 4 rules, which we'll be racing for, under Ultra 4, umbrella,
mm-hmm.
we will have to still, abide by their weight rules, their build, anything that they require,
mm-hmm.
which those ruling will be different than what a normal short course car is. So,
mm-hmm.
Suspension setup wise, and I think Jamie and John say, I think even the rock setup that we have now, it's pretty flat. I think Jamie can go, around the corner and hit a jump, and we don't have any issues,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these Ultra 4 courses, even like Oklahoma, they hit a short course.
Yeah.
And, so we set our cars up for a mix. So we try to set all the valving, springs, and the setups to where, the guys can go rock. The guys can, still jump. The guys can flat corners,
mm-hmm.
At whatever speed. So, going into Crandon, I don't think our setup would actually be any different when he just raced in Oklahoma.
Understood.
Now, we may decide to run a 72-inch wide car versus the 64. So, us, with HCR, we have both sets, that we can take it. And that's the nice thing about a Can-Am X3. You can take an X3 and make it a 64, 72-inch, and we can do that within an hour.
That's amazing.
Changing A-arms, tie rods, axles, and radius rods, and hey, we've got a 72-inch car with a different set of shocks. So, that might be the choice, to be a little bit wider and flatter.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of the setup wouldn't change at all.
Gotcha. So let me ask you guys this. This last year, the Texplex Park in Texas has gained popularity. It's hosting a little bit more of the event side of things. Do you guys plan on going down to Texas and racing there again? I know you guys have raced there in the past. Is any of that going to be on the schedule?
We haven't discussed it a lot, but, I know there's a big 12-hour event coming up, and, I've got a lot of my customers and racers that are all kind of ramping up for that, for that event. I think Jamie and I have mentioned it a few times, and, he's rolled over a few things, hey, do we want to, but our ultimate goal right now is focused on for King Hammer.
Yeah, understood.
So, we love to race. Jamie loves to race. And that's really why we do what we do. But, if it impedes on, at any time, us having the ability to, what we're going to do at the end of January, then, we may not make that in Texas. But, before Pro Rock started, we did, take the time to go to Texas twice, mm-hmm. and run Texplex. And it's an awesome facility. Billy and all the guys down there are awesome. It is a little bit different from the element we're used to,
mm-hmm.
Where we don't get to go, basically motocross race,
right?
That style of racing. So, we were shock testing and just doing all kinds of things beginning of this year, playing with things. And, we had a brand new 2020 X3. I think Jamie went out about every moto that he took off in and just killed the whole shop. you know, that All X30. I mean, we had an Evo tune in it, you know, that, you know, I downloaded while we were at the race, and I actually made a mistake with the computer and messed up and put a download in his dash cluster, you know. So Jamie's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to fix the dash cluster because I messed up."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you know, so he it is pretty amazing. I mean, I think when he got done with practice, he came back in and I looked at him and I said, "How fast do you think you were going on this race course?" He said, "I don't know. It's pretty dang fast, though."
Mm-hmm.
So I read the data, and you know that 2020 car hit 96 mile an hour.
That is insane.
It's insane, you know, that a UTV on the race course could do 96 mile an hour.
My gosh.
But you know, and Jamie can tell you a lot more about that. I mean, I think we learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to test some tires, test some shocks. You know, we you know, kind of got our feet wet to start 2020 out.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate that, you know, Texplex, you know, they were racing, you know, one of the guys that I worked for, you know, they did really well down there at Shawhead, you know.
Yeah.
I was able to build those guys some shocks this year. You know, Colin Truitt won the, you know, the pro class there on RS1. Worked with him for years. So, you know, we get around those guys, and I got a little kid I'm working with down there too, Cannon Baker. He's 12, 13 years old. He's on fire.
Yeah.
You know, he's doing really, really good. They're a great family. So, you know, anytime we can go out, and Jamie and I have always talked about this too, where he's working with kids, you know, it's so good to work with with other racers, with the kids, because, you know, that's who's coming up behind us, you know, and any skill and any knowledge you can get, you know, and give back basically to, you know, where Jamie and I basically come from a long time ago. You know, we tried to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, yeah. He was telling me about that on the phone, but let me ask Jamie. Jamie, what are you guys, you know, just looking into the future? What's on your mind and what's on the plate for you guys?
John's playing with my phone here, so everything we had went dead tonight. So
no, it's okay. You guys, you know,
we're doing the best we could. Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. And just Jamie, so you have an idea. We'll kind of close everything out here in the next few minutes, but I just kind of want to end with, you know, where is your head at as you're looking towards the future? You know, what's on your mind? You know, what's coming? You know, is it King of Hammers only, or what are you thinking about past that? What's on your mind?
You know, I like to race. You know, and that's probably, you know, when we first started getting into it, you know, we'd go to you could do a local race and you know, run some GNCC stuff that was spread out a little bit, you know, from month to month, and we kind of got to where we was doing. It seemed like we was racing every weekend, you know. So, you know, we backed that up a little bit. Now we're going to do the King of Hammer and the Ultra 4, and then you know, looks like we'll go back out to Reno. But I also want to hit some big races, you know, that come up, you know, that's around the area or whatever. And, you know, maybe even do Heartland Challenge. And you know, I don't want to count us out. We like to race.
Yeah.
And but you know, I'm really looking forward to this season. I feel that we're stronger, you know, physically and mentally. We've prepped these cars, and you know, I'm going to build the exact car that I'm racing right now is what I'll go to battle with. And at the Hammers, you know, we may be on a 72, but we're going to prep this car. It's going to be tuned exactly. I've got the clutch and suspension the way I like it, and you know, I'm very, very pleased with this car. So I've raced it in some really, really good tight stuff. I've raced it in some really rough stuff. Raced it in some high speed stuff, and I'm very comfortable in this build, and I'm going to try to mimic that to go to Hammers this year. And like you say, you know,
that hammer, it carries a lot of weight. You know, it really does.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel in the years past that I just didn't feel that we was ready yet. We just hadn't done enough rock testing. You know, I don't want to go out there and sell ourselves short either. So, as you said, that most people say, you know, we'll be ready when we hit the lake bag, and I'm going to be ready when I leave Tennessee. So,
Yeah.
my stuff will be ready, I promise you. So, we're prepared, and you know, I got an ace in the hole. You know, I feel like I actually got two of them. So, if I feel really, really comfortable, I'll have my long-haired beardy boy in there with me. But if not, I got somebody else. But you know, the other guy knows that facility very, very well. He's very confident, and he's going to come up with a game plan. And he's been there many times. So it was actually John's idea, and I kind of vetoed it for a long time. And then we kind of sat down and had a little meeting, and you know, John said this is the right thing to do. So if I feel real comfortable when I get there, you know, I think I'll put John in there. But more than likely, the other guy will be there. And you know, we had calls from you know, several of the teams last year. Johnny went out there, and you know, he was working in the trailer, I think, till 2:00 in the morning or something, helping the millers get their stuff ready. You know, their wiring and stuff. He's just a very crafty dude. So, you know, him being in the pit, and Gary in the pit, Pete in the pit, you know, I think not only do we have a you know, a very prepped car, but I've also got a really good team in the pit. So, yeah. You know, I think that's real important that you mesh together on that side of it too. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a group effort for sure, and I'm really excited. You know, the East Coast boys fared very well out there last year.
They did.
You know, I shed a bunch of laughs with those guys. So, you know, hopefully I can. As old Mr. Cheney said one time, you know, if you can race the woods, you can race anywhere. So, I think that is to our advantage. You know, I think we see things and read things a little bit differently. So, I think some of that stuff will come to us easier than what we think. Maybe not, but I really think it will. And you know, every time I go to one of these little rock races, and there's, you know, they've got a half a mile of wood section. You know, that's just primo woods for me, and you know, and I just try to kill it. John says the same thing every time. Golly, why would you not just ease up through this section? You know you can do this section good. I'm like, I get so frustrated just easing through rocks sometimes, and I get a section I really like. I just want to kill it. So yeah, that's what John said. We're in the middle of, there's no trees, and you're going 70 through these trees. Why would you do this?
I love it.
Just a little bit ornery, I guess, man. A little bit ornery.
I understand. Well, Jamie, I appreciate it. Jamie, if you want to hand the mic over to John, I'd like to get his kind of closing thoughts on everything. Just what he's got on his mind, and then we'll go to Gary and we'll close this bad boy up.
That'd be good. Hey, man, we're going to do this again, and I'll have a little better equipment next time, okay?
How about we do it in person next time? I'll come up there and see you guys.
Man, I would love that. That would be so cool.
We'll do it. I'll buy
you a big old steak, boy.
Hey, all right. That's all it takes.
Here's Johnny, boy. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, John. All right. So, John, last thoughts. What would you think about the season? You got anything else? What's on your mind?
Season was great. Did good. We got a really good car that we've put together. Probably the toughest car that we've built. So I think we got really good equipment going in, especially for this race, Pro Rock race. So it'd be good to see some of our friends we hadn't seen in a while. Yeah. And we love Windrock, so just a kind of like a home track for us. I think more for this year, AOP has been our home track more. We've been there so many times. They've done really well.
Everybody races there.
I actually hated that track the first time, the second time, and probably the third time. Jamie says he still hates it, but
I understand.
But somehow we do really good there. But it's just a rough track. But the season, like I said, it was great. Would like to maybe get some more sponsor help. Would be nice, and a little bit more. Maybe some stuff thrown our way a little bit. I think we kind of deserve a little bit more than what we're getting right now. So that would be nice.
Is there anything in particular that you guys are looking for? I have plenty of guys who listen to the show, and they'd be happy to, always have the conversation. So what are you guys looking for parts wise?
I don't know parts wise. Maybe just I think we're
some team funding.
Radio.
I'm looking more like a dang on a Red Bull deal.
I like it.
What about a radio that works good, or John? What's a radio?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need an antenna. Well, every piece of this car is Loctited, and we don't Loctite the antenna, and it's fell off 3 times. So, maybe we should have done that.
Maybe PCI or somebody's listening in.
Well, I can always reach out. Is why I say it.
Yeah, and a lot with radios is it is a lot of tuning, and we just don't have that's kind of our last thing that we worry about.
Yeah,
and it's probably like one of the most important things. But we need
to tune the radio like we do shots. That's
sure.
What we need to do.
Right. So
sure. Well, John, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it was y'all linked up together, you and Jamie, so y'all could get this all squared away. I appreciate you, brother. We'll move on to Gary. Gary, final thoughts, just kind of wrapping everything up. What you got on your mind?
Well, I mean, I think most of the stuff we've all talked about and kind of knows the direction that we're working toward right now. It's a lot of everything we do. Honestly, I mean, we all thank each other, but my business and what I do, realist. I mean, Jamie and I raced motorcycles and motocross in the past, and we got into UTVs and got into off-road buggies and things, and that was mainly because, hey, we saw some race, and he had an XP 900 stocker, and he said, hey, there's a race going down here. Let's go do it. So at that point, things in the UTV world for us changed, and Jamie got beat that night by, I always tell this story. It's like, hey, there was some guy there named Kyle Cheney that beat Jamie. So we didn't know who Kyle Cheney was. And then, later we become, good friends with Kyle and get to work with him and for him and things like that. But, that was the goal when we came back, and that's kind of who we are. Jamie said, we got to build a car to go back and beat Kyle Cheney. Mm-hmm. So, we went back and won the next race, but Kyle wasn't there. So, but at that point, it's almost like an addiction. We've all got a hard work ethic, and we put that in the program. Probably really anything we do in life, we all put 100% effort in. So we can't thank Can-Am enough for the opportunities and the car that they're building to give us to for Jamie to race and for us to build. I mean, it's a great platform. And all the other guys and the sponsors that MRT, tires and stuff. I mean, these guys have been great to us, 100%. They become like family too, stepping in on our program this year. The guys at HCR and like I said, Eric at CA, Jamie mentioned him earlier. He's trying to come out of his shop and come out to the racetracks with us and do things. And he has in the past. Last year he was with us for a weekend that we did 3 race events on the same weekend.
Wow!
And we did. Jamie and John went out and won the Ultra 4 National race at Dirty Turtle, and we jumped, threw a car on a trailer and went and raced an IXCR race that evening. Came back for the Ultra 4 podium, and then stayed at Ultra 4 and won the next day at the Dirty Turtle, race.
Wow.
So,
Eric was there for that. I mean, Todd at Keller Boswell, he's always stepped up and gave great products, and kept us going too. And there's just so many people, Blood Lubricants, we run all their lubricants, and, I work with them. They've got great things. That's what I use with suspension fluids. But there's so many companies, that, if it wasn't for these guys that can help us and us putting 100% in the program, we wouldn't be where we're at the end of the year or being able to start a new season. So we got to thank all those guys, and got to thank Jamie. I thank John. I mean, like I say, they're family, and we all, honestly, I thought about this one day. I told my wife, I said, if we went racing, what would me and Jamie and John be doing?
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, what are we going to do,
Yeah.
So, I'm sure we'll find something, but we just, my goal, honestly, I mean, not just for myself, but, I think we're at a point now going to KOH that, I want to work hard for Jamie to have the ability to go, put his ability in the car in the race course to hopefully come out with a win, first time out. So it's been done before and it got done last year. So I've got 100% confidence in his driving skill, and John's co-piloting and then together when they're not fighting at times. But they've got the ability and they can do it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I never worry about is them getting the job done. So I just got to make sure I do my job.
Well,
at that point, so
I understand and I agree with you. I can always count on, it's just one of those things. I can always count on y'all. If I know he qualifies on the pole, we're probably in a good spot for the weekend in terms of watching. So I'm always going to be a big fan. I count you guys as local guys that I really root for every single time. And I'm so glad to have all of you on the show. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy evening. Good luck this weekend at the Pro Rock race at Windrock. And let me be, just another voice to say congratulations on being the national champions for Ultra 4. That is not easily done, and not many people can say it. So I'm happy for you guys, and I know that 2021 will bring just more success. And I'm, already nervous and excited for King of Hammers to see you guys there. So we'll close it out here. Thank you guys for being on the show, and y'all stay on the line for me.
Thank you.